It's every soccer player's dream, and it's every soccer fan's dream too.
This is the opportunity to bring cultures together.
A billion people are going to tune in to watch the draw at the Kennedy Center.
This will be the largest sporting event in the history of the world.
The excitement is just building this morning. The World Cup's road to Kansas City starts today in Washington, D.C. You were taking a live look at our nation's capital this morning, where in just 1 hour, 48 of the world's top soccer teams will learn their fate.
And every team, they want to know which groups they'll land in and what path they'll take to lift that World Cup trophy. We've been building up to this moment since Kansas City was chosen as host city in 2022. That's that video we were looking at from Power and Light on such an exciting day.
And it is another exciting day. We want to thank you so much for joining us here on KCTV5+. I'm Janae Hancock here with Taylor Johnson.
Woo, we are ready to go.
Yeah, you got the scarf
got
ready to go, Taylor.
Kansas City, USA.
And we have the excitement here in the newsroom here at KCTV5, but that's not it, Taylor.
Nope, that is not it at all. So we actually want to take you out to Power and Light, where we have team coverage. Our friend Bill Hurlbrink is out there right now, along with our KCTV5 exclusive analyst, Roger Espinoza. And you might recognize his face because he's played in 2 World Cups, and he also played 14 seasons right here in Kansas City. Now, I know earlier, Bill, we were chatting with you and it was quiet, but now the party's jumping.
Oh, it is getting crazy out here, Taylor and Janae. We got Nate Bukaty up here on the stage.
Jimmy Conrad too.
Yeah, Jimmy Conrad up here as well. Welcoming the crew out here. I'd say there's a couple 300 folks out here getting ready for the draw to happen in Washington, D.C. at about 11 o'clock. So we're about an hour away from that happening here our time. We got to get scoot a little closer together here. But, yeah, we are so excited here at KCTV5 to be able to bring you expert analysis from the one, the only Roger Espinoza. Again, there's not a lot of people that have the kind of experience that you do with World Cup soccer. I mean, everybody knows you from Sporting Kansas City and your time here in Kansas City. But let's talk a little bit about your experience with the Honduran national team first. You played in the 2010-2014 World Cup. But before that, you were actually at the World Cup draw in South Africa as a member of the Adidas development team, right? Tell us about that experience.
Absolutely. At that time, I could only dream. You know, the Generation Adidas team is a team that they take around the world after season in MLS. And that year, 2010, we got lucky, and they said that they were going to take a select group of players to South Africa and Cape Town. And so we were lucky enough to go to the World Cup draw there, and I can only dream of being in a World Cup. And 5 months later, I was in a World Cup with Honduras, and I knew Honduras, you know, we already had qualified, but, you know, the final roster is not given until months prior to the World Cup. So for me, it was just a surreal experience. You know, I can only dream of it, and then when it was coming to reality, I was so excited. I'm like, oh, I already know South Africa. I've been there. I was nervous when I was there. I could only dream, and now, you know, I get to make that a reality, and it's an amazing place.
Yeah, so what, as a player, I mean, you didn't know that you were going to be on that roster that competed in that World Cup, but as a player, what are you looking for when we go through the draw here? Because we're looking at the individual pots and the groups to see who gets placed where today, and then tomorrow we're going to learn about who's coming here to Kansas City. So let's talk about the player perspective first. What do you look for when you are going to be watching the draw today? Even as a player, what you were looking for back in 2010?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I won the group of death. I want to be these crazy matches, but I also want the U.S. to get the easiest group, right? You don't want the U.S., you know, you want the U.S. to go far. I think that's going to elevate soccer even more in America. So, you know, for me, I'm looking into that, but I definitely want some great groups. I already saw the pots being 48 teams. It's only going to make it more competitive. You know, new nations coming in, that's exciting. The whole world's coming together. It's 48 countries.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Super Bowl on steroids for 8 weeks here in the summer, you know, and it's absolutely incredible that we're going to see a lot of these matches here in Kansas City. I just heard him talk a little bit about the 94 World Cup, which if folks can't remember, that was here in the United States. Now, we didn't have any matches in Kansas City, but let's talk a little bit about how, when the World Cup came to the U.S. in 94, MLS came just a few years after that in '97, right? So how do you think that the World Cup elevated soccer in the United States so that MLS could develop and then really thrive in the decades following that?
I mean, like I said, the World Cup brings country together. US being a country, when they inherit all these nations, they bring everybody a very welcoming nation, and I feel like it's just going to be even more now. United States in '94, people got to see, how great the sport was, and the ownerships, people who was able to, Lamar Hunt, he was able to say, hey, he actually works in America. Let me go and try to get a few teams in the MLS. Let me go get a few of my friends and see if we can build this, because this is a sport that can bring the whole country together. And as you can see all the way now to 2026 almost, I feel like the game is just going to get even bigger. And this is why we're having a World Cup now in Kansas City. If you told me 16, 17 years ago when I got to Kansas City, I mean, I can only dream. I could see it, but I can only dream of it. And now we're having it here in Kansas City. So for me, it's unbelievable. And I think it's just going to grow the sport to another level.
Let's go back to you as a player again. And you're taken to the pitch there in 2010 and 2014, walking on to the surface, representing your country. What does that mean to the players who get out there and do that? I mean, what feeling goes through you? Do you get the chills still thinking about it?
You get very emotional. You get the chills. It's just part of it. I think every time you walk into a game like that, you always think about when you were a young kid and you were just dreaming, and how hard you work to bring it a reality, right? You can dream up anything you want and stuff, but if you don't work hard and you don't make it a reality, it's just difficult. And so once you think of that, you get all emotional. It's that national pride you have. And so for me, all that comes in right there, and then you're prepared, you practice your whole life for that. So that's how I felt majority of the time.
Yeah. Let's talk about the levels of soccer. For me, I mean, I was a coach for my daughter's 12 and under recreation league. You were a World Cup athlete. So, I mean, there's a little bit different in our understanding of the game. But when I see MLS play, that's one thing. When you watch English Premier teams play, it's another thing. Where does the World Cup level of play compare when, like, a guy like me is watching MLS soccer, or maybe I'm watching English Premier League over the weekend? What type of level of soccer are we prepared to see here with these matches?
It's the highest level, and this is why I got in interviews before about it. What a game is going to mean. It's like a Super Bowl hitting every time in town.
Yeah.
That's how competitive it is, because it's the top players from each nation. It doesn't matter if you're a small island or you're the size of the United States or Brazil.
Yeah.
All these players play with pride, and when you have a team playing with pride, the skills, yes, the skills matters, but a lot of stuff goes away. A lot of that stuff goes away. You got to run, you got to tackle, you got to try to score, you got to defend your colors, and it becomes that difficult, and then it becomes that competitive. And the majority of the players in each country, they're all the best players of their country. So they play in great leagues. They play in MLS, they play in the Premier League, and so U.S. will have guys that play in the MLS. U.S. will have guys that play in Premier League. U.S. will have guys that play in Italy. And so all this comes together. So is England, so is Germany. And so it gets competitive. It gets that competitive, and this is why it's like Super Bowls.
Let's talk about some of those guys that are playing in the other league. Christian Pulisic plays for AC Milan right now, right? So what is that like for a guy like that? He's playing overseas all the time, but he's going to bring it back here. He's going to go put the stars and stripes on. I mean, that's the thing. I love, like, when guys score goals and they put their shields up and everything, and it's got to mean so much, like when you score a goal for the U.S. and you put your flag up and you're celebrating that success. But what's going through a guy like Christian's mind right now as he's preparing for the games here a few months from now?
It's great that you mentioned that, because we hear early in the summer he didn't go to the Gold Cup.
Yeah.
He dropped out of the Gold Cup. I don't necessarily see that as a negative. I see it as exactly what you're saying. What's going through his mind right now? His mind is exactly saying, all right, I need to be ready for the World Cup because I'm going to go lights out.
Yeah.
I'm going to do everything I can to prove the whole world wrong that the United States belong in this World Cup, and I think that's what he's doing. That's how I see it. He's a guy who's like injury prone, and so he's like, all right, I got to take care of myself. The Gold Cup right now is an important tournament, but I want to be in the main party. The main party is this coming summer, and I want to be ready for that. So for me, that's what he's preparing for, and it's a great thing you bring him up. I think he's going to do unbelievable. He's getting ready for that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about some of the other players to watch for in this World Cup. I know we've talked about Mbappe for France, the kid from Norway, Haaland,
Haaland.
yeah, from
Erling
France.
Haaland, yeah.
Who else should we be looking at? Maybe let's start with the U.S. team first, as people get ready to watch the U.S. compete. Who are some of the people we should be looking for as leading up to the games?
I mean, I have, the U.S. team is stacked to me. I think for me is the best team that United States has ever had. Obviously, they have to prove it this coming World Cup. But Tyler Adams for me, a midfielder that has to be healthy. Weston McKennie for me also has to be, and obviously in the back line we hope that everyone is healthy. I think that's just gonna, Matt Freese, the goalkeeper from New York, an MLS guy is coming, and so I hope that these guys are healthy, for the U.S. And we have guys from England, like Harry Kane just scored tons ago. We have we have Lamine Yamal from Spain. You have Erling Haaland, like you mentioned. We have all these guys that I can't wait to see, and so for me, it's just so many stars from each national team. We have Vinicius from Brazil, and so for me, it's the guy that's just coming up on Chelsea, which is a Brazilian guy, and so for me, it's these players are getting ready, just like we talk about Christian Pulisic. All these guys are just taking the season, not trying to get injured and get to the World Cup and finish as high as they can.
Definitely, and of course, we talked earlier this morning about Messi possibly sitting this one out and not competing, just depending on where he's at. I know he's been dealing with some injuries as well, and this is Ronaldo's last go around because he's set to retire after that. So some of the biggest names in the sport could or could not be in it. So that's something that we're going to be watching, storylines that we're going to be watching as we get closer to the games. Let's talk a little bit about playing in Arrowhead, because obviously we know Arrowhead Stadium, the loudest stadium in the world when the Kansas City Chiefs play there. You've played in Arrowhead before, and I forgot all about this, that Sporting played Man U here a while back there. So you've played there. I went to the Messi game last season. It took me 2.5 hours to drive from Western Wyandotte County to Arrowhead to get there for the match because everybody was going in there. I have a feeling that's what it's going to be like when these matches are held at Arrowhead here this season, because everybody's going to be trying to get there at one time. What's it like to play soccer, football, on the pitch at Arrowhead Stadium?
I believe it's going to be what you said times 100.
Yeah.
Why is this? Because you have, like I said, the pride. This is one nation, two nations playing, and you have each nation has their fans there. They're going to go crazy. So when I'm saying this is that if you have Messi on one side and you have Brazil on the other side, half of the fans are not going to care much about Messi, right? When we went to watch him against Sporting, a lot of the fans wanted to see Messi.
That's all they were there for.
Yeah, that's all they were there for. So they were chanting for one guy, so it wasn't as loud. I think when you're going against two crowds going against each other, I think it brings a whole different set of when we play Man U, yes, it was loud, but at the beginning, all the fans were going towards Man U, right? All the superstars. Once we started winning, they're like, wait, the Wizards are playing Man U right now with the men down, and you got to see the loudness of the fans of Kansas City. That is what one of the pivotal moments I think where soccer started to kick in, and then the Wizards came, and then the Sporting came the year after, and you got to prove like this is soccer capital of America. It just shows you how the sports in Kansas City, how the fans support that, and I have no doubt they'll be ready to bring it.
Yeah, and I mean, you played in that stadium that had that banner on it for so long that said soccer capital of America, So, I mean, as a player, what does that mean to you that this city puts that brand on soccer here in Kansas City, that, we're not just the soccer capital of the Midwest, but we're the soccer capital of America and the world?
That's just a lot about Kansas City. I don't think, if you take it away from sports or you put it into sports, I think Kansas City doesn't do anything halfway. I think they do everything. They go all out. They always want to help someone. They're very friendly people. People always says that about Kansas City because, we're a small town. We want to prove everybody that we got the talent, we got the people, and I believe, Kansas City will do that in every sport. If you look at, we just have the Casey Curran. Shout out to them. They just got here, and people's like, all right, we got a team. Let's go support them. Let's make it the best we can. Comes from the ownership, comes from the fan, comes from the people who work at the clubs, and you see it day in, day out. You're going to see it here today. I think Kansas City fans are a whole different level. It's just we have a bunch of different nations here that just all collide together to bring the city to the next level.
Yeah. So let's get back to kind of what's happening today. So we're going to go through the draw. You were talking about you've seen some of the pots or the pot 4, right?
Yeah. You have all the pots, and you don't want to get a dark horse on pot 4. There's a few teams in pot 4 that you obviously want to skip if you're United States. I'm thinking about United States right here right now, but you want to skip. Or we can talk about the other nation. In pot 4, usually you have your weaker teams, right? But there's a few dark horses there that I feel like you don't want to get those guys. And one example is Ghana.
And the U.S., if I remember, did they lose to Ghana here back in 14 or was it 10 that knocked them out?
Yeah, they've been back and forth. The U.S. knocked them out in 10 or 14, I believe.
Yeah.
And they always draw U.S. with Ghana. We do not want Ghana.
No, we do not want Ghana. Let's just skip them all together this year. But, I mean, do you see the U.S. as the dark horse that could really make some headway in this tournament?
I believe so. I just think because they're a host nation, the U.S., they hold them to a different standard.
Yeah.
But I think they can, absolutely. I think U.S. have gone, they need to go to the next step, make it to the quarter, make it to the semifinals. I think U.S., they have not played in the semifinals, and hopefully they get to that stage. I think they have the players now. They have the players. U.S. has quality play. I think, to me, the best national team I ever seen.
Yeah, really? Well, that's fantastic to hear. Let's go back to just talking about having the games here in Kansas City now. Again, you've been here for, like you said, 15 years or so. Who do you want to see play at Arrowhead? But, I mean, we
already know U.S. is not going to be here. They're in L.A. and in Seattle, so they're not going to be here. That would have been great to see them against a great team here. But to me, I want to, if there's a group of death, I want to see one of those games being played here. So it can be, I don't know, let's see the heads of groups. I can say like someone from Europe, so like a Portugal or like a Spain, play against either a Uruguay, Colombia, and that would be great. And let's not say some of the European teams can draw each other. Obviously, South American teams and CONCACAF teams cannot play in the same group.
But UEFA can, right? Is that
UEFA can, just because there's a lot more countries in the European nation in Europe, and so they can draw at least once.
Yeah.
They cannot draw 3, and then in South America they cannot play against each other.
Okay.
So you cannot have a Brazil-Argentina until later stages. That would be great. But
we can't have that one at Arrowhead right away, huh?
But we also want the games in the quarterfinal stages, which I believe we have a quarterfinal.
We have a quarterfinal here.
So I believe that would be. It could end up being one of those teams, depending on how they draw, how they finish in their group.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big one that I think a lot of people want to get there to see and everything too. But I mean, again, just after your, let's go back again to like just talking about some of the World Cup experiences that you've had here originally. There's so much we could talk about today, and Nate Bukaty is just so dang loud.
We got almost a full 10 months to keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Nate is the loudest. Nate can tone it down here in Kansas City.
Well, we got Blue down here. We got a handful of other folks out here as well. So, but let's go back to talking about your experience in the 2010-2014 World Cup for again Honduras. Just kind of give us your story again, because you grew up in Honduras, but then immigrated to the U.S. and came out of Denver, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, and I came out of Denver. I ended up going to a junior college in Arizona for 2 years. Got recruited to go play at the Ohio State University just for a quarter, because then Sporting Kansas City Wizards at the time, or I declared for the draft, I should say, and Sporting Kansas City picked me in the 10th and 11th overall pick of the Super Draft, and that's how my story started in Kansas City. Once I started playing in Kansas City, I started getting opportunities as a rookie. My name started getting out there, right?
Yeah.
And there's not many rookies that play. At the time, it was only 2 rookies that were playing the majority of the minutes. I was one of them. And so my name started getting around, and Honduras came around and called, knowing that I was Honduran, had full nationality. And so being an American citizen, that was also a possibility. So when Honduras called, there's a story there where Peter said, "Are you sure you don't want to play for U.S.?"
Really?
There's a possibility I want you to do this. And I said, no, listen, I love the United States. I have that culture too.
Yeah.
I love both nations. I think that when an opportunity shows up right away, I want to take it. I always want to play in a World Cup. I love both nations. This is the first opportunity that comes out to me, just like Ohio State, just like my junior college, just like the Wizards. I embrace it. And, you know, those are the teams that want me. If you want me, I'll be there, you know? KCTV5 wanted me. I'm here. I'm here, my friend. I'm here with you guys. You guys have treated me really well. And my story continues here, right?
Yes.
And so with Honduras, that was the same thing. You know, I got called up, and I knew that there was a possibility. Honduras was also stacked at the time.
Yeah.
We had a great national team. We were in a group that it was really tough to qualify, and we were one of the 3 teams to qualify with USA and Mexico. And so for us, you know, when we qualified, when I decided to join Honduras, I was, you know, I knew that I was going to give 100% on the field here at Slow Park every single day so I can play with the Wizards and they can call me to the national team. Because remember, you got to do really well on your club team in order to be called and selected. And so I just had to become one of the best players in Honduras. There's 23 players that make it to the World Cup. I don't know how many make it now. I'm guessing probably more. Yeah. Just with all the games and how fast the game is now. But at the time, it was only 23 players. So you had to be one of the best. And
23 in the world.
In the 23 in the country. Yeah. And so for us, and it was only 32 teams qualified back then. Yeah. But that made it very difficult. And I made myself, you know, work very hard and be able to play here in Kansas City. And I got called up. When I heard my name, I'm not going to lie, I cried. I was very emotional. I was by myself in an apartment over the park. I was watching it, you know, at the time, you know, TV was different. It sounds like a long time ago, but, you know, it changed quite a bit. It changed quite a bit. You had to, you know, you had to look either on, you know, you had to look at the newspaper. You know, you couldn't watch many channels. So for me, I found out that my name was being selected by a cousin who texted me right away because the internet wasn't going as fast in my place. Yeah. And so she found out before me. I was like, how'd you find out? Oh, no way. But hey, once she told me, I still didn't believe it. I still had to see it in the media outlet in Honduras, you know, to make sure that I was going. I was screaming, I was yelling. Oh, that's awesome. It was a fun time, yeah.
And that was a big series for Honduras because they hadn't been in the World Cup since the early 80s up until then. So that's got to mean, like, again, you were crying, you said, as you got that phone call. So once you got down there and started working out with them, what was that like to become a member of that team and to continue that of playing for your home country?
Yeah, good call right there. 82 was the last time, that was the first time we made in the World Cup. We had not made it.
Oh, before that?
Yeah, okay. Before that. So it was literally 22 years since. Yeah. When we made it to the World Cup. So I was 22 years old. I was not born yet when the World Cup happened, when the Honduras went to Spain, 82. And so 2010 in South Africa was just the icing on the cake for our national team. So for me, I mean, I just kept working hard to qualify to the next World Cup, 2014.
Okay. All right, well, again, I want to thank Roger Espinoza here this morning for joining us down in Power and Light for the draw here. Again, you can see the party is ongoing here. We got Jimmy Conrad and Nady Bikiti kind of emceeing here, kind of getting the party going. Our coverage is going to continue here all morning long on KCTV5+, so make sure you stay tuned. Roger and I are going to be back here during KCTV5 News at noon, coming up here in about the next 90 minutes or so. We hope you join in. And then, of course, we're going to have a reaction to where the draw lands and where people or what countries are going to be put into what groups. We're going to have that all coming up for you all afternoon on KCTV5+. So, but for now, for Roger Espinosa, I'm Bill Hurlbrink. Janae and Taylor, I want to send it back to you in studio.
Thank you for staying with us here on KCTV5+. As you know, it is draw day for the FIFA World Cup. It's so exciting. And it's continuing to build. We want to take you right now to Washington, D.C., where our sports director, Marlia Campbell, has been there since yesterday in the middle of it all at the Kennedy Center. Marlia, how are things this morning?
Yeah, it's been fascinating. You know, we're used to, we can fortunately say this in Kansas City, covering Super Bowls, NFL games. We've got a couple of MLB postseasons under our belt, but this is an entirely different ball game, no pun intended. It started today with our drive from the hotel, which is about a mile and a half, taking close to an hour and a half. Different cars kind of doing their security check-in. We got a dog sweep because this is the place to be. You could probably see the media members behind me a little bit. This is the media hall. We've heard every language imaginable. We've met so many people from so many different countries. We talked to a pair of reporters from Qatar yesterday where the 2022 World Cup was held, and they said, look, our country did not sleep for 6.5 weeks. There was so much excitement. We're so excited to experience the American version of this, because for a lot of folks here, other than those who were in this business in 1994 and had the opportunity to cover the World Cup, this is their first taste of covering this event in the United States. So a lot of fun, a lot of festivities, a lot of just kind of cool cultural melting pot of being able to talk to so many different people and seeing how they go about their days and their coverage. So it's been a lot of build-up. I'm very excited to get this underway and to experience my first draw in person, of course. And this is a big day for Kansas City. We're going to be monitoring 3 groups, E, F, and J. Those are kind of the path through Kansas City. We'll get matchups and kickoff times tomorrow, but we'll get the pools of the countries that we're watching for today. So big day. A lot of folks excited, as we should be. This is the start line of the FIFA World Cup coming to KC.
And, you mentioned, Marlia, just the melting pot of the different countries that are there. And, I mean, what better place than to have all of them in Washington, D.C., which is our nation's capital?
Yeah, very snowy day here. I don't know how it is back in KC. I haven't had time to check, but it is beautiful day. We've seen a lot of people just kind of around town and at our hotel really soaking in the experience. And, I talked to Mayor Quentin Lucas, who you'll hear from on this show, and he said a lot of people are asking him about Kansas City. And, I mentioned that Qatar reporter that we interviewed and talked to a little bit, and he was like, is that the Windy City? And we're like, nope, it's the barbecue one. And a lot of folks will get to learn about the city and what we have to offer soon, because this will be on the world stage. Again, the entire It's not just America, it's not just Canada and Mexico, it's the entire world watching matches played at Arrowhead Stadium, soon to be called Kansas City Stadium. So the exposure we're going to get is just going to be unbelievable. As Mayor Q put it, ready or not, we're on the world stage, Kansas City.
Yeah, and it's so exciting to think about that. And I know you talked to us also about during your time there, you saw what some of the menus were looking like for the different types of food that they have. Yeah. What did you notice?
Yeah, so they're serving us a media lunch, and it's really cool because they're just everywhere you turn embracing the kind of cultural meshing. You use the word melting pot. I love that. So they have an American buffet, a Mexican buffet, and a Canadian lunch buffet. So we'll show you the different kind of foods they have there, but it's been interesting to see just everyone getting to experience each other's culture a little bit, and each other. Food's a great way to do that. No Kansas City barbecue here yet, but obviously that'll come when we're back in KC next summer for what is going to be just a huge month. But yeah, it's been really cool. Everyone here clearly really grateful to be part of something this big. I don't think I've been able to put into perspective until having my feet on the ground here just how huge this is internationally. And again, this is the start line. This is the kickoff. We will find the path that is going to be set, the road ahead this afternoon.
And I just want to ask for you personally, really, as our sports director representing KCTV5 there on the ground in Washington, D.C., what does this mean for you?
That's a great question. A lot. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I mean, this is really, really special, and you're getting a taste of the gravity of what this is going to be for Kansas City this summer. But we're getting the kickoff here today. So excited to bring the taste, no pun intended, we just talk about lunch menus, the taste of what we're experiencing in Washington, D.C. and bringing it back to Kansas City, because from this point on, it's full speed ahead. But again, there's been so much. I mean, I remember years ago driving through KC and seeing the We Want the World Cup banners. We have the World Cup, it's here, and this is the beginning. So really special to be a small part of this and to hopefully bring back the sights and sounds to Kansas City later today on KCTV5 all day long, and of course KCTV5 Plus and our KCTV5.com website. But yeah, personally, this is, bucket list doesn't seem to do it justice. This is really, really cool, and I'm really grateful to be here.
Well, we really appreciate the hard work that you're putting in out there. And, of course, I know you have a very busy day ahead of you, so we'll let you go. But, again, Sports Director Marlia Campbell live from the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. as we get ready for the final draw for the World Cup. We'll be right back.
And we do just want to give you a quick recap. Again, let's break down what is happening today in our nation's capital. The draw will take place at 11 this morning until 1 this afternoon, and this is happening at the Kennedy Center. FIFA officials will determine the group stage matches for the 48 teams in the tournament, Taylor.
All right, such an exciting day. We're going to give you a quick live look at Washington, D.C. at our Capitol building on a snowy day in Washington. You can kind of see the flakes falling there, making for a beautiful backdrop. But of course, when we finally get to see the World Cup games, it'll be summertime, which will be nice.
I know, a lot of people looking forward to that. But again, this is a live look from our nation's capital. That'll do it for our coverage for right now. We are really just getting started. We'll be right back after the break. Next summer, Arrowhead Stadium will be jam-packed with soccer lovers from every corner of the world. You are taking a live there right now, as today we hit a huge milestone on the journey to the World Cup in 2026, Taylor.
Yep, 48 countries. They will find out who they'll be facing when the World Cup draw happens in Washington, D.C. We are just minutes away from that. And Kansas City will be home to several of those epic showdowns. Now, our Gabby Luma is live at Arrowhead, the stadium that's going to host 6 of those matches. Now, Gabby, we were just taking a live look at D.C. not too long ago, and it was snowing there. So I know it's cold here, but at least we got some sunshine.
Oh yeah, ladies, thank goodness for that sun. And that wind has recently picked up, so the sun is definitely helping right now, and I've been able to shed a couple of layers. I was wearing 2 scarves this morning. Now I'm just wearing my KC 2026 World Cup scarf, of course, in honor of today. But ladies, yes, I am here in front of Arrowhead Stadium. It's actually going to be called Kansas City Stadium for at least the FIFA World Cup matches that will be played inside. And again, there's going to be 6 of those matches. There will be 4 group stage matches, and then there's going to be a round of 32 that'll be in July, and then that last match will actually be the quarterfinal. It'll be played right behind me. Again, it's going to be so weird saying Kansas City Stadium instead of Arrowhead, because of course we all know Arrowhead as the home of the Chiefs. We love coming here, tailgating in the parking lot. So yeah, I can't wait to see what all of these soccer fans think of both KC but also Arrowhead.
Alrighty, Gabby. And you know what? I do want to touch on the fact that you have kind of shed some gear there. You were bundled up, so I'm glad that it's getting a little bit warmer for you. But yes, the excitement is continuing to build. And we will actually hear more from you throughout the day as far as our KCTV5 coverage is concerned. So thank you so much, Gabby. We appreciate it. All right, Taylor, let's move this train along.
All right, so let's go on to the next thing. So as we heard from Gabby, the World Cup draw is a huge moment for soccer fans, but how does it work? Our sports director, Marlia Campbell, will walk us through what you should expect.
After years of anticipation, we are finally at the start line. Today, here at the Kennedy Center, teams will learn their first steps on the path to the World Cup. And we'll get our first peek at which teams could potentially be coming to town for the biggest event in Kansas City history. There is a buzz in the air at the Kennedy Center.
It feels real, finally, right?
This morning, World Cup officials will divide 48 teams into 12 groups of 4. Kansas City will host 4 group stage matches, all from groups E, F, and J.
We are excited for any country that we have. That being said, we want to make sure that we have representation from some of the world's greatest teams, as well as countries that Kansas Cityans may not know a lot about. So, my view is I think that we'll be happy with what we get. However, I'm expecting some strong brands that you've heard of doing something soon.
Hundreds of reporters from across the globe are here for tomorrow's draw, many covering their first World Cup on American soil. Among them, Ali Salat from Qatar, the country that hosted the last World Cup.
It's crazy. We've hosted the last one. It was amazing.
He says to buckle in for an exciting summer ahead.
You could say the country hasn't slept for a month and a half.
Kansas City fans will have to wait a little longer to know exactly who's coming to town. Matchups and kickoff times are announced Saturday. But today will give us our first real look at what lies ahead.
What I want to say to Kansas Cityans is, like, ready or not, we're on the world stage.
Reporting in the nation's capital, Marlia Campbell, KCTV5 Sports.
All right, so once they know their groups, the countries, they will pick their training camps, and Kansas City is offering 3 options: Sporting KC Facility, KC Currents Training Center in Riverside, and Rock Chalk Park in Lawrence. And FIFA announces the final picks next spring.
And we do want to take you back out live to Power and Light again this morning, and that's where we find KCTV5's Ali Espinoza. In just minutes, fans will receive the Soccer in the City scarf. That's what Taylor's holding up right now, and that's what Ali has around her neck. Hey there, Ali. Is it getting a little packed now? Because I know it wasn't this morning, but we are officially just a few minutes away from that reveal.
Yeah, Janae, now it's really the countdown to this draw in just less than 30 minutes. We're actually going to
represent my country. So
give us a second. We're having some microphone issues. All right, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, Ali, we can hear you just fine.
All right.
No matter what.
All right, sorry. Clearly, it's very loud here. But yes, we still have some fans trickling in. But really, like you said, Janae, now is the countdown to this draw. We'll let you guys take a look here at the crowd of all the fans. There's so much diversity. Now, this isn't just a random assignment of teams. Today's draw will determine which countries will play their group stage matches here at Arrowhead Stadium. Now, we're specifically looking at groups E, F, and J. That's who's going to be playing here in Kansas City. But this crowd is just incredible. As you can see, this group of USA fans right here chanting USA. The energy is incredible. Everyone is ready to go. We also spoke to one USA fan who actually went to the World Cup in 1994. He had a custom-made hoodie. Such an incredible story. He was here early this morning, around 6 this morning. Taking a look at the stage now with our hosts, Nate KC soccer legend Jimmy Conrad, who's talking right now. But yeah, this is just really fun. Now, really just a matter of a few minutes until the draw kicks off.
The last 5 games, I think we're unbeaten. 4 wins and 1 draw.
Alrighty, Gabby, it looks like the crowd is slowly starting to build there at Power and Light. A lot of people looking to get those scarves. I know it was the first 1,000 people, Taylor.
Yep.
So a good thing that they got there early and they're able to get that souvenir. Ali, we're going to check in with you just a little bit later. Thank you so much for your coverage. Well, Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas said that the city is prepared to host 2026 World Cup matches. In an exclusive 101 conversation with KCTV5 Sports Director Marlia Campbell, the mayor cited improvements to public transportation and security coordination as key factors in the city's readiness.
Well, to say this has been a long time coming feels like an understatement. It feels like just yesterday we were looking at the "We Want the World Cup" signs in Kansas City. Now we're here in Washington, D.C., one day ahead of the final draw. What does this moment mean to you?
It feels real, finally, right? I heard a comparison before from Pam Kramer, our executive director, who was saying it's almost like when you're having children, you know they're coming, and then when they're here, you're like, wow. And so talking to people from different countries, I visited just in the last few minutes with people from England, Brazil. They're actually trying to figure out, can we come to Kansas City? How will we like it? You start to see where all the work we've been doing all these years, from public transportation to hotels, are making a big difference.
Might be putting you on the spot, but can you remember the first conversation you had about, like, what if we brought the World Cup here to Kansas City?
You know, it's funny. Occasionally, you think about these things kind of just as phases of life. So my first conversations before I had kids, before I was married, I was like this different guy. I got elected mayor. And they were like, yeah, we're working on something really big. And well, at City Council, we had talked about it. People had started the work. I don't know if I knew how much was involved. And so for me, it hasn't so much been knowing about it, because it seemed like a dream for a long time, a decade ago. Now it's the sort of thing where not only is it real, but I feel super ready.
Yeah, that's my next question is, there's been a lot of talk about the influx of people we're going to have in Kansas City. And the burden that the infrastructure of the town will have to bear on that. How prepared do you think Kansas City is for, 6 months from now?
I feel very ready. I have always said that there are two priorities that we're going to make sure we satisfy. One is safety and security. That is a key step. Talked to the White House Task Force leader, Andrew Giuliani, about that earlier today. I think we're in a good place, local, state, and federal, from both states, Missouri and Kansas. The second is public transportation. When we saw what was unveiled in terms of connecting Kansas City during the 2026 World Cup, what I saw was, frankly, the best public transportation network our city has probably had since we had the original streetcar lines that were ripped out of the 1950s. I think the question is not so much how ready we'll be. I think we're there. The bigger question is, what legacy can we have coming out of it? How do we keep some of this good stuff that we were able to build up for this event?
What was the biggest challenge in preparing the transportation system? Because Kansas City is a city that historically is not like Washington, D.C.
I think probably the hardest part was figuring out an experience at Arrowhead Stadium that isn't just based on a full parking lot and tailgating. So much of the Kansas City, certainly Chiefs experience, is going out, you tailgate, you get there at whatever time. That's how everybody's getting there. The challenge with World Cup was, how do we get tens of thousands of people to Arrowhead who are not driving personal vehicles, who aren't rolling with each other, and instead are hopping on buses in different developed parts of the city. That was a key step for us. The other step that I think was really important is, how do we get people who are staying at hotels in Lenexa and Liberty and Lee Summit to the stadium, to Fan Fest downtown? I'm proud of what I think we've built out, and I encourage Kansas Cityans this summer, even if you're not going to a World Cup match, hop on public transit, get around the community, see the excitement, because I think that's where the real energy will lie.
You mentioned a moment ago the conversations you've had with national level folks about security and safety. Obviously, you can't give that stuff away, but can you kind of touch on how big picture this is to ensure safety in Kansas City during this time?
When we talk about safety and security, it runs the gamut. Perhaps the things that we're typically used to, from violent crime and other issues to human trafficking, which is something that, while we're cognizant of, we don't have huge events like this often, and sometimes that can be an issue. Drones and interception of them. I mean, there is a lot there. So, in so many words, what we've really done a great job of is making sure that all of our local government jurisdictions and police departments and agencies are working together with state level, and then ensuring that there is federal assistance. Occasionally, I've had complaints over the years of not having enough federal support. The World Cup is anything but. They're making sure that these matches in every city are getting the coverage they need, because, importantly, we have to make sure that we're safe in Kansas City in the same way that you do Los Angeles, the same way you do in New York. And we're getting that level of attention. And for that, I'm proud of our World Cup KC 2026 team, and certainly our partners, including our partners at the White House and others. This is a nonpartisan, bipartisan effort where everybody's getting along to have America and Kansas City look their best.
I remember a couple years ago at the NFL draft, the kind of note we ended on was, man, can you imagine what the World Cup is going to be like? Have you been able to put really like a finger on the grandeur of this event and what it's going to be in Kansas City?
I have not been able to put a finger on that yet, because, obviously we've had the parades and we've had the NFL draft, so I've seen large masses of people. I think the difference on this one is just the global impact. What I want to say to Kansas Cityans is, ready or not, we're on the world stage. We have people who, for years from now, will be referencing this great game at Arrowhead Stadium that they're going to be calling Kansas City Stadium. We're going to have people who believe, frankly, that we're a lot bigger than we are because we have matches. And so for me, I think the real work is how do we make sure there's a legacy of getting something out of it? Business development, cultural exchange opportunities, our brand. When you look at Atlanta in 1996 in the Olympics, right after that, Atlanta just continued to take off. It's still just this strong brand, although smaller in population and city limits than Kansas City. But, right, you see that growth. I think that's the sort of thing where Kansas City is poised to go. So I hope what we need to do is not live on a bell curve. We can't have this huge excitement for the game and energy and investment and then go back down. Let's see how we soar into the 2030s out of this.
A couple more for you, just about this event. I know there's a couple groups we're keeping a close eye on as far as group matches go tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is there anything you're hopeful for, anything you're going to be nervous for tomorrow?
All I'll say is this, because I've been trained well by KC 2026. We are excited for any country that we have. That being said, we want to make sure that we have representation from some of the world's greatest teams, as well as countries that Kansas Cityans may not know a lot about. So, my view is I think that we'll be happy with what we get. However, I'm expecting some strong brands that you've heard of doing something soon.
Awesome. Mayor Q, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Thanks.
Again, that was KCTV5 Sports Director Marlia Campbell.
Yes, it was. All right. And just so many things to be excited for as we get ready for the World Cup. Now, we're going to talk about preparation. Some restaurants, they're getting ahead of the game before visitors arrive in the summer. Senorita Margarita, which is in the Crossroads, they're actually closing their doors until January 13th. They want to make sure that they're capitalizing on the estimated 650,000 people who are going to be coming to town.
Now, businesses wanting to cash in on the action can still do so. That's the good news. The deadline to apply to fill some downtown storefronts is actually today. It's part of the city's Open Doors program. They budgeted more than $1 million in support.
And in just months, Arrowhead Stadium will be in the world spotlight as it hosts the 4th of 6 World Cup matches right here in KC. But Arrowhead, it isn't the only World Cup venue with KC connections. As KCTV5's Sharon Chen tells us, a local company is helping deliver a world-class experience for the FIFA World Cup.
Arrowhead Stadium, the heart of Chiefs Kingdom. Known to be the loudest stadium in the NFL, a deafening 142.2 decibels.
I was at the game that set the record. It's an incredible fan experience to be a part of that.
An experience Populous knew they had to capture when the Kansas City architecture firm updated the stadium in 2010. Kelly Holton, Senior Principal, Kansas City Office Director.
Preserving the amazing bowl that they have there, but then also really adding 500,000 square feet, enclosing a club, looking at the concourses, fan amenities, and it's an excellent fan experience.
And Populous is at it again, this time setting the stage for the 2026 World Cup.
The pitch size for soccer is different from the size of a football field, so just needing to make modifications for the locations of the seats in the lower bowl to accommodate the size of the soccer pitch.
And you can see the work already being done on the pitch and in the stands. The story of Populous began in 1983 when the firm created its very first project. You might know it, Camden Yards at Oriole Park in Baltimore.
It really set a new standard for ballpark design.
From that ballpark, Populous has since grown into a global powerhouse, creating some of the world's most iconic spaces in sports.
It's pretty exciting to be a part of such a globally recognized event like the FIFA World Cup. We're involved in 11 of the current 16 stadiums.
And the Kansas City connection doesn't stop there.
When you think about our firm's designing 13 of the 16 FIFA World Cup stadiums, that's pretty impressive.
Ashley McDonald is Managing Director of KC Global Design, the initiative that brings together architecture, engineering, and construction firms in the region.
It's a $24 billion industry. There's more than 1,200 architecture, engineering, and construction firms here throughout the region.
And McDonald says when it comes to sports architecture design, Kansas City reigns.
If you look at the data to support that, our firms have designed for nearly half of global sports architecture.
Of that, KC firms were key to the design of 27 of the 30 NFL stadiums. Nearly every Super Bowl stadium was designed, engineered, or renovated by KC firms, including 19 of the last 21 Super Bowls. And it was Kansas City that created the gold standard for Olympic stadiums.
Really, when you think about sports architecture, the history there, those roots are very, very deep.
And they're about to go even deeper. Enter Populous again as a key designer of the 2026 FIFA Fan Fest in Kansas City.
We're just really excited to be a part of it.
So what exactly will fans be able to dive into at the National World War I Museum and Memorial?
But I can say that it will be about reflecting the heart of Kansas City and the passion that we have for this place.
And fun fact, Chiefs Kingdom, Populous's next project, Highmark Stadium. Yep, the home of our much-hated rival, the Buffalo Bills. And to that we say, go Chiefs. Sharon Chen, KCTV5 News.
We love it, Sharon.
I thought she was going to say boo.
No. Keeping it positive here, Taylor. And local soccer fans here are excited about who is coming into town. KCTV5's Betsy Webster caught up with folks at Kansas City's Soccer Dome. They believe hosting matches here locally could turn more people into soccer fans.
Here at the Soccer Dome off Front Street, we met kids with roots in several countries. But national allegiances aside, what they most want to see come out of the draw is a competitive lineup.
The team captains of White Beans Football Club call Grandview and Raytown home. But their ancestral roots are in El Salvador, Honduras, and Mexico.
Vamos, Mexico!
They hope hosting will bring more Americans into the fold of their favorite sport.
Whenever you see a good game, it just it makes you want to play too. It's like you're there, in the game.
Go USA!
14-year-old Chase Plyler is rooting for USA. But when it comes to who is picked to play in KC, his hope is just to be there, whoever is competing.
I feel like internationally, it's just the most important, the biggest thing there is.
Bigger than the Olympics?
I'm not really a watcher of the Olympics. I know soccer isn't in it, though.
Those kids will be in school for the draw on Friday, but they'll be tuned to the news this weekend to see which teams, which players will be coming here to KC. In Kansas City, Missouri, Betsy Webster, KCTV5 News.
All right, well, a major question this morning. Could the world's biggest players make their mark in KC? Well, Lionel Messi is keeping soccer fans guessing. The Argentina legend told ESPN there's a chance he won't play next year, though he still wants to. At the worst, he says he'll be at the matches watching live, but Messi will be 39 when the tournament starts. He won with Argentina back in 2022 and says he'll keep playing as long as his body allows. I mean, 39 isn't old.
No, but that's a lot you're putting your
age.
Yeah, that's a lot you're putting your body through, and I know a lot of people love Messi. So
yeah,
that's going to be a huge disappointment if it doesn't happen. Well, meanwhile, one of Messi's biggest rivals is preparing for his final bow. Cristiano Ronaldo announced that next year's World Cup will be his last. The 40-year-old Portuguese superstar will make history as the first man to play in 6 World Cups. Ronaldo scored 953 goals and won 5 trophies, but the World Cup still includes him as well. He says that he'll retire within the next 2 years.
Going off on a high note. Well, if you were with us earlier today, you might have seen that we have Roger Espinoza with us today. He is our exclusive KCTV5 soccer analyst, and you might remember him from his 14 professional seasons with Sporting KC. Espinoza, he made the MLS Cup playoff 10 times during his career, and by the way, he's also a Honduran national star, playing in both the 2010 and 2014 World Cup, and he will help lead our coverage all the way through the tournament this summer. He's out at Power and Light this morning with our Bill Hurlbrink, and they'll be back at some point during our coverage today.
And speaking of living legends, I actually sat down with Kobi Jones, who is also a well-known soccer player, and he is now an analyst as we count down to the big draw today. Let's take a listen in. An exciting day here, and so we just want to get your perspective as someone who has played in 3 World Cups and you now analyze the game. What are your initial thoughts on the World Cup draw for the U.S. men's national team this morning?
Well, before the draw here, I think we're
we're pretty excited and waited on bated breath really to actually see what comes about, because this is the moment that everybody's really been waiting for. We know that we made, the World Cup, that we are a host nation of the World Cup, but now it comes down to who are we going to play, who's going to be the opponent, what are the matchups going to be over those first three games, and how easy or difficult it's going to be to get out of that first round.
Yeah, the anticipation is really building here in KC today. And having played in the 1994 World Cup on home soil, might I add, what kind of unique pressure and excitement do you think that tournaments like this bring to players?
Well, the uniqueness of being a host nation, I think, is going to fall on all the players, and I don't think that they do know that it's going to be a little bit extra, especially the ones that have played in other World Cups. To play on your home soil, there's an expectation. Not only are you playing for your country, your city, your family, your friends, but they're all going to be there, waiting, and the nation is going to be watching every single moment. So there is more pressure, but these are professionals. They know what it comes down to, and I think they've prepped themselves and prepared themselves so far, pretty well, and they're headed in the right direction. It's never easy. You want to impress everybody, but it's the World Cup. Anything can happen. So we'll see what happens up on these first matchups once we see who we're playing.
And with your extensive experience, I want to go back to that. I mean, just how significant, I should say, is it for a city like KC to have the World Cup, to be hosting it come next summer? And what kind of lasting impact do you think that will have on the sport right here in our region?
Well, I think for any city to be a host city for the World Cup, it's an honor. So for Kansas City, I think it's fantastic that they were able to be one of those host cities. You're going to be welcoming in people from all over the world, into your city. So it's an opportunity not only to enjoy the World Cup, but also to show off the city. You're able to show off, everything that you want to. You're on the world stage. All eyes are going to be on the city. So I think it's fantastic. And as far as legacy is concerned, that's another opportunity. So you're bringing people in, you're letting them know about the city, but you also want to leave something behind. So the World Cup is an event that lasts for that month, but it's about what comes next. And I think the city of Kansas City, knowing some of the people that are involved over there, they're going to be looking into that, seeing how you can affect especially the game, talking about youth, talking about underserved communities, talking about breaking down barriers to entry. Those are my hopes, at least, that we can find a way to have that impact in every single city that is a host city and beyond.
And Kobi, as you talk about legacy, I mean, we have to touch on yours as well. I mean, you had 3 World Cup appearances in 1994, 1998, as well as 2002. What would you say was the most challenging piece of preparing for the World Cup?
The most challenging piece is probably, staying focused for so long. Because look, the World Cup, we're seeing the tail end of it, right? We're seeing that 6, 7 months before the World Cup, but it is a process, especially when you are building towards it, be it a host nation or you're going to be traveling as a team and going to another country. You're always preparing. You're always thinking, what do I need to do to make the team? What do we need to do as a country and a group and a national team to come together to make sure that we're ready? So just staying focused and being patient as well in those steps, I think, is the most difficult.
And just 2 more questions for you, Kobi, and I promise I will let you go, but it's such an honor to have you here, and I do want to know just the key storylines that you will be keeping an eye on today as World Cup groups will be revealed.
Okay, well, first and foremost, who is the U.S. going to be playing? That's number one, for me. I want to know exactly what the group is going to be like and see what the path is like. Then I'm going to be looking for the other teams within CONCACAF, our immediate, opponents. We're talking about Mexico and Canada. I'm going to be looking to see about probably the 3 favorites, where are they going to be as far as, the Spain, the Argentina, the France, just some of the powerhouses. We also want to know about, Messi and Ronaldo, of course, 2 of the arguably the best players that have ever played the game. You want to pay attention to them. And then, what are the dark horses? What teams, one to really pay attention into is where's Norway going to end up, because they're in kind of an odd pot with a very powerful team with the best striker in the world right now in Erling Haaland. Bringing him to the United States, that's going to be exciting to see. Senegal as well, a team that had played fantastic, during their qualifying process. So those are a few stories to pay attention to, but trust me, there's a whole lot more.
And since the historic announcement back in 2022, right here in Kansas City, saying that we would be the host, we have been catching up with some young soccer fans, some young soccer players who dream of one day representing their country. What's your message to them today as they watch the historic announcements and everything that's going to be revealed today?
Well, for all those youngsters out there, just understand that this could be your future. This is a possibility. That's the great thing about the World Cup. All these different players come from a variety of backgrounds from around the world, and they all have different beginnings, and yours can fall into it, into the future. It's not out of the ordinary to have someone that is just like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be playing soccer right now at a young age, to 4 years, 8 years later, to being a star, on the world stage.
And while I have you, one final question for you. Of course, I have to ask your message to all of the players that will be playing come next summer.
A message to all the players is, it might be a little bit different, than everybody's expecting, but it's like, it's go out and make the game exciting, because yes, it's a sport, it's the beautiful game. But let's make sure it is the beautiful game and entertain the fans. We are in the business of entertaining as well. So I want to see exciting matches, all the way through. And remember that you are playing for your country, your family, your friends.
Make the game exciting, and today will definitely be exciting across the country. Kobi Jones, thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so great hearing from Kobi Jones. Well, let's give you a live look right now, Washington, D.C., the Kennedy Center. You see President Trump there as we are just getting into the World Cup draw, which is going to be happening momentarily. We're going to be hearing from the president at some point today, but that does do it for Janae and I this morning. But stay tuned, because our sports team, Katie Marr, Neil Jones, and also Gabe Schwartz, they are going to break down every group as it's unveiled. So don't go anywhere. Your in-depth analysis continues right after the break.
All right, welcome into the KCTV5 Plus live desk. I'm Gabe Swartz, joined by Neil Jones and Katie Marr. It is the World Cup final draw day in Kansas City. Neil, Katie, how are you guys doing?
Very, very good. I mean, we're going to get all the names. How many teams are going to be in it? How many teams will be announced?
48.
40. Well, there's 42. There's still 6 spots to be named.
And that's the most interesting thing about this. Italy is that 300-pound gorilla that has not yet qualified because they've had 2 straight years of horrid play, and yet they are the most respected and sometimes most feared teams. So other than Italy, we'll find out about them later. We're going to learn all these other things. 16 sites in the United States and in North America, 2 in Canada, Toronto and Vancouver, 3 in Mexico, Guadalajara, Mexico City, and Monterrey. They'll host matches. Of course, Kansas City will host matches along with Atlanta, Boston, Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, New Jersey. Do you notice they get New Jersey in there, Katie? Your home state. Philadelphia, Seattle, and the San Francisco Bay Area. The 2 most controversial sites, Miami and Kansas City. 2 hot weather cities where you get heat, lightning, possible problems. Internationally, people are freaking out over this. They're saying having outdoor stadiums in those sites is dangerous. We heard that last year with the Club World Cup, where they had matches that were delayed for 5 or 6 hours. So this is an exciting day, guys.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I don't know if you guys at home have watched the explainer videos that our sports director, Maria Campbell, has put out, but they are super helpful. I've watched all of them myself, and it's already taught me a lot about this process, because this process is not exactly like super easy to understand, but Maria did an awesome job at kind of putting it into layman's terms. Should we take a second and go over how this process is exactly going to unfold, do you think?
Go for it.
All right, so we got 48 countries total by the end right now. As Neil said, we only have 42 named. They're all divided into 4 pots, and there's 12 teams per pot. That's based on world rankings and host nations. Host nations, of course, being the USA, Canada, and Mexico. They're all in pot 1, joined by the next 9 highest ranked teams in the world. Pot 2 is then the next 12 highest ranked teams, and so on and so forth with pot 3 and 4. The draw begins with pot 1, Mexico, Canada, and USA, all in separate groups in A, B, and D. Remaining pot 1 teams are going to fall into the top position in each group, and then it'll go through in order through the next pots 2 through 4 until all of them are filled. So it's a random process, you could say, but an exciting process, and we're excited to break it all down for you.
With the exception of the Summer Olympics, this is the most watched event worldwide. There is not a corner of the earth that does not pay attention to this. The United States hosted the World Cup back in 1994. I covered that. Were you guys alive in 1994?
No.
It was a big deal.
My brother was just born.
It was a big deal, but nothing like it is. Much more soccer savvy. The growth of MLS, thanks to the patron saint of United States soccer, Lamar Hunt, who helped found the league, who helped draft the rules that have allowed it to succeed in markets like Kansas City. And we have seen the growth of soccer. And of course, on the women's side, the women's team was excellent even back in 1994, but that's even grown even more. So the growth of soccer makes this a completely different animal than those other World Cups.
Absolutely. And the difference in the amount of teams and the format in comparison to previous World Cups, with it being 48 teams, the group stage, the top 2 teams in every group will advance, and then 8 of the top third place teams, the best 8 third place teams, will also advance to the round of 32, which means the round of 32, which is the first knockout round in the 2026 World Cup, will be the equivalent of the full field of previous World Cups, which brings into factor, I guess, other nations, maybe some smaller nations, the teams that are making up a large portion of pot 4 in this draw. It also, to a different extent, greatly changes how missing the knockout stage would be viewed for these larger countries, the teams that are in pot 1 and pot 2. If you are not advancing to the round of 32, largely, I think most of these soccer federations are going to view it as a catastrophe. So that is the one thing that these bigger nations are looking to avoid.
This is a huge change. It's like expanding the baseball or the NFL playoffs by an extra round. You like it if you have a bye. If you're one of the big boys, it's okay in that regard, but nobody liked it. Because the top countries see this as one more landmine on the path to the finals where everybody wants to get. And so they're afraid that one of these teams that would have been eliminated, and we know how soccer can be, you score an early goal and suddenly you drop back and the other team is chasing. And if you score a goal in the first 10 or 15 minutes, they are chasing for 80 minutes, trying to get that goal back, try to get that equalizer. They are not thrilled with this at all. For teams like Team USA, which has had major problems getting into the knockout round, out of group stage, because they can't even advance out of group, this is great because it means that 3 teams can get in. It's like expanding the wild card playoffs in baseball or in football. Gabe, do you support this? And Katie, what do you think about this? There's never been a bigger World Cup than this one.
I am of the opinion that the growth of the world population, the growth of soccer, we're at the point where I think that, and we'll get to as we eventually get through this draw and we learn about all of the teams and which groups they're in, what you're going to hear several times from us when mentioning some of these countries is this is their first World Cup appearance. And a lot of these countries wouldn't have a chance to be in the tournament if it was not an expanded field. So I think that is a positive. I think that it opens things up for more teams eventually to make the World Cup, and that includes teams that have not gotten in. It also kind of makes it a bigger point where Italy is still in this FIFA playoff, the Europe UEFA playoff that will be played in March. And if they somehow miss it in a 48 team, I remember what it was like when the U.S. missed it in 2018.
That was terrible.
And people were saying, how is this possible for the United States to not do what's possible to qualify for a 32-team World Cup? But I can't imagine what the people in Italy would be like if they missed the 48-team World Cup.
We were in Italy the summer that they were playing the UEFA Cup, the same time the United States was playing the CONCACAF Cup over here. And by the way, both of those cups got unbelievable attention in Europe. Even the American and North American CONCACAF Cup got huge play on television over there. The matches were on in the middle of the night, but people watched them. And people were furious in Italy about how bad the Italian side would be. It would be like sending the Kansas City Chiefs to the Football World Cup and they're getting beaten by Croatia. Okay, that shouldn't happen. The Chiefs play football. They have more football players in the United States. They're the tip of the iceberg. There is no excuse, but that's the way it was. They were getting beaten by teams they had never lost to. They were mad then. If they somehow miss out on the World Cup, it's going to be awful for them.
Yeah,
great for us.
I see no reason why an event as big as the World Cup, just go big or go home, make it as big as you can, get as many countries interested in it as possible. And I mean, soccer it's growing in the U.S., but it's, as we know, widely popular in Europe and all the other countries around the world, especially. But as it continues to grow in the U.S., we're seeing how, with the inclusion of more teams being added in leagues like the MLS and the NWSL, more people get excited. And if there weren't as many hosts, I mean, just imagine, like, if there weren't as many teams, there wouldn't be as many host sites, and then maybe Kansas City wouldn't have been selected. Neil, you briefly touched on Lamar Hunt earlier in the show, and that's a huge point in this. Lamar Hunt's vision for Arrowhead Stadium was that it could do more than just host NFL football games. It could host concerts, which we know it does. But he wanted to specifically host a World Cup, and that dream is coming true for the Chiefs by Arrowhead being a host site for it. So I'm all for the more teams, the better. Just get everyone super excited about this worldwide event. It's like the Olympics. Like, everyone in the world is supposed to be able to get excited about it. So you may as well just let the chaos happen, see what happens, throw everyone in. You never know who's going to upset also.
But we also understand FIFA's history. FIFA, like the NFL, like Major League Baseball, they are doing this also for economic reasons. More matches that go worldwide. Everybody watches these things all over the place. We were in Puerto Rico one summer when the World Cup final was going on that had nobody anywhere near Puerto Rico, and it stopped it's a little bit like Super Bowl Sunday, only maybe even more so in some regard.
I think that Neil Jones is using this to tell us about all the exotic trips he's taken. I'm just going to put that out there.
We go on vacations during the World Cup a lot of times, or during these cups, because we go in the summer so that Katie could go on Thanksgiving when I had to work on Thanksgiving.
You had to be in Dallas.
I also think in the conversation of whether it's good or not that the World Cup has expanded to 48 teams, you have to, if you're looking at this purely through a Kansas City perspective, and if you're looking at it objectively, they went from 64 matches for 32 teams in 2022 to 48 teams and 104 matches this year. Those extra 40 matches are a great reason as to why there are going to be matches in Kansas City. Because if we are being honest, if we are evaluating this as a realistic ranking of what the cities were and picked and metro
based
size
on
and
what?
all,
No, that's it. No, the Hunt family was the trump card in all this.
it
Clark
certainly helped. But I'm just saying, I think that Kansas City would have been even more on the cut line, or it would have been tougher for them to get games if it was only 32 teams rather than 48.
I agree.
Look, in 1994, Lamar Hunt was reportedly, I say reportedly, I never asked him about it, but I heard from people involved in the Kansas City Wizards at that time, or in MLS after that, who said they went to him and said, what town do you want? You can choose one because we owe you. I mean, FIFA understands what Mr. Hunt and the Hunt family has meant for USA Soccer. There's probably not a pro soccer league as we know it. There have been many others. North American Soccer League, NASL. I covered that. They had teams in Tulsa. It was not a sustainable product. It was not a very good product. But it was the best we had at that time. And then to see MLS rise up, going to FIFA, because NASL did not even follow FIFA guidelines on rules. They didn't have the offsides rule as we know it. They played like a blue line, like hockey, because Americans are used to long passes and stuff. And FIFA wouldn't even recognize the league. So for them, for Lamar Hunt and some other like-minded people who had money to invest in a fledgling soccer league playing in NFL-type stadiums, big stadiums, probably too big. And I think they knew it was too big, but that was the best they had. For them to do that, they know what they owe the Hunt family. And Clark Hunt obviously played soccer at SMU and has been involved. At one time, they had 2 franchises. He's still involved. So I guarantee you the Hunt family was not going to be shut out. Now, what might have happened is Lamar Hunt reportedly said, "I'd rather have it in my hometown, Dallas, than Kansas City." So they played it at the Cotton Bowl. So maybe that would have happened again. But I have to believe Kansas City, because of all the things that have happened soccer-wise in this community over the last 5 to 10 years, now especially with the growth of the women's side, I think that Kansas City earned their way in. They didn't have to have the Hunts, but the Hunts were a great insurance policy.
All right, Katie, so we know that Kansas City has 6 matches. We know that Kansas City has 4 group stage matches. One of them is a Group E match. One of them is a Group F match. And 2 of them are a Group J match. So we're going to have our eyes peeled for Group J. Because
repeat those groups again.
Group E and F, there's one match, one group stage match in Kansas City. Group J, there are 2 group stage matches, which by virtue of just the way that it's going to work out, you would figure that at least 3 of the teams from Group J will play in Kansas City. So we will have our eyes on those. Without knowing the draw yet, and as it's coming out as we speak, which nations are on your, if you had a wish list to come to Kansas City, Katie?
I want to see France because I want Kylian Mbappe to play in Kansas City. I think that would he's one of these rising stars in the international world of soccer, and he's had like crazy moments on the international stage in the past few years, so I think it would just be awesome to see him in Kansas City. I know everyone would probably say Messi, but I've seen Messi when he came to Kansas City a few years ago, so if we don't get him, that's fine. But yeah, I'm looking out for France. I would be excited to see Mbappe here.
For me, it's got to be England because I love hooligans, and I don't mean to make anybody mad, but I want to prove to the British people that we can riot just as good as them. Have they ever seen the riot that Brad Stevens took part in at the University of Nebraska back in 1982? We can riot just as good as those British hooligans. I want them to come in and see it firsthand.
You're going to go to Arrowhead Stadium next summer, and Neil is going to be dumping tea off like cars. That's what we're going to see to get back at the British.
And it'll be their first World Cup in the United States because they did not play in the 1994 World Cup. So.
Because they're ranked number 4, but they are the New York Yankees of soccer. They're always ranked really high. They get great ratings because the EPL, the English Premier League, is the top league in the world, other than perhaps the NFL, depending on how you view it. So it's the EPL. Oh, England, they haven't won but one World Cup, and it was in 1966. Even I was barely alive in 1966. Nobody has gotten more publicity for less than anybody. It's unbelievable. I root for them, and because the U.S. was not in a lot of them, so I rooted for England. I've given up. It's like rooting for the Jets. It ain't going to happen. But so for me, I think it would be Germany or France. Germany's ranked number 9. That's one of their lowest ratings. They are technically a really well-coached side. They're a team that almost always shows up. And France, they don't have the best players. They don't have the biggest egos, but they play great soccer. Or football, as they say. They know the style they play, and they play it. And they're very, very good. They're ranked number 3. They specialize in defense, so their matches aren't exciting. And their fans will come. They will not like our French restaurants, but they'll love our barbecue.
Yeah, I will say this. I'm in on France because of Mbappe. I would also be in on Spain. They're the number 1 team in the world, so that's not a bold take, and Neil's probably going to crush me for it. But Lamine Yamal is one of the best players in the world, and he's...
But this is not basketball. Michael Jordan scores 45 points per game. Yes, we've seen Beckham, and we've seen Messi. We've seen these unbelievable highlights. They don't happen very much. In soccer, you know this, in soccer, and they're... Well, you're right. And they're finishers. They're finishers, so that's exciting, but it's just such a different dynamic than what we're used to. Where in Mahomes, you go to the game, Mahomes is going to have the ball in his hands every offensive play, right? Except unless Kelsey is running the Wildcat. So it's just not that way in soccer. It is so completely different.
But I would say I'm hoping for teams that have a chance for excitement. So with that being said, I will go in the reverse of one team, and this might feel like picking on somebody, but one team, as I was doing my research this week, on a team that I don't want to see in Kansas City. And it has nothing to do with the people of the country. It has nothing to do with anything.
You hate the country?
Yeah, exactly.
You hate the country.
Neil is going to spin this.
Why do you hate this country? Tell us what country it is you hate.
I do not want to see Ecuador in Kansas City. They have played in 1/3 of their qualifying matches. Those ended 0-0.
0-0.
Nobody wants to see that.
They park the bus before they have the lead, but here they are.
So I don't want to see Ecuador in Kansas City, and that's why they'll be in Group J. That's my prediction.
What's interesting is you look at some of the biggest names. We talked about Italy, how great they have traditionally been, and how awful they've been for the last couple of years. It's funny. Brazil, you think of unbelievable skill. Obviously, Pele was sort of their patron saint, an unbelievable finisher who could also distribute the ball. He could win. He came out of the midfield. He could be a striker. He was unbelievable. He was the Mahomes of his time, right? Because he was a magician. But they have had the worst qualifying run in their modern era. They're still ranked number 5. They've won 4 World Cups, which is a bunch. Okay, that's a bunch of World Cups. This isn't the Super Bowl. They don't play it every year. They play it every 4 years, which means under a normal career, you might get a guy twice, and that's it. Messi is sort of that guy that's he's kind of bucked the odds because he's been able to play so long. So Brazil's not that great. And Argentina, they're one of the oldest teams in the tournament at 29 years old. That's even older than Katie, older than you, Gabe. Yeah, older than you.
Older than both of us. Not older than Neil, though.
No. They would be kids. They'd be babies to me. So you've got Argentina, you've got Brazil, you've got some teams that you would think would be right up there, and they're ranked really high, but they're not necessarily playing their best soccer or best football right now.
Yeah, and Argentina is the reigning champion. They won the last World Cup in 2022, so
Messi.
Obviously it's always interesting.
Yeah, Messi.
Won the World Cup in 2022.
Was that unbelievable? He gets off the plane in Buenos Aires or wherever they live, wherever it is, and he goes it was unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember when he played
capitals of these countries.
Oh, I can go into that. We're here for 2.5 hours.
World
you don't think I've got stuff to talk about?
World traveler Neil Jones is going to give you the capital.
No,
of
I
every
haven't
nation
traveled
in
any of
this
those places mainly because I can't get visa there. But I have later on, on this page right here, I've got the official mascot of a bunch of these countries, and they're not what you would think they are. So when we get into this thing a little later, trust me, I've got us covered.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to touch back to Messi before we move on from the GOAT. And I'm going to look back at when he played at Arrowhead a few years ago. I covered that game against Sporting KC. Sold out, obviously. People had, talked to some fans outside. People literally traveled to Kansas City from, multiple states over because he was playing there. And it was the closest they could get to him. And when I tell you, looking out into the crowd, there were 10 times more Messi jerseys than there were Sporting KC or just Inter Miami alone. Everything was Messi. If Argentina does come to Kansas City, that's obviously a win because people will travel literally just to see him. He is I rank the top 3 most famous people in the world. I rank them as Taylor Swift, Bad Bunny, and Lionel Messi. And I remember the security was different at Arrowhead because he's the most famous person in the world, and certain gates were blocked off. You couldn't walk down certain tunnels because it would be too close to where the visiting locker room was.
It was Katie. It was
crazy.
It was like covering the White House with the president. It really was.
Yeah, Lionel Messi is one of the most famous people in the world. So if Argentina does come here, that's a win for Kansas City.
No, there's no question about it. I think there were more pink jerseys in the stands that night, but I think the blue of the Argentine national team, I think you're right. There was a lot of that as well. Clearly, people had come around. It is not unlike, on a smaller scale, when the U.S. women's soccer team came in and played at Arrowhead Stadium on the heels of their dramatic World Cup win at the Rose Bowl. They did their triumphateur. They were getting ready to be named the Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year. That's the Mia Hamm group, that wonderful team that was a generation of U.S. soccer players that was unbelievable, that had dominated, and it kind of kicked off USA's domination of women's soccer and really helped grow women's soccer internationally. They got great ratings. They came here, and there were people they were telling me the Chiefs ticket, they handled the tickets. There were 48 states. 48 states were represented that they knew of. People who came from all over the United States to see that unbelievable team, and Messi's got that same type of appeal.
We do not know officially, though, whether he will play in this tournament or not. He did an interview with ESPN Argentina.
ESPN Argentina?
Yeah, there you go, Neil. Maybe is that your next move?
They got one for every country.
I didn't know that.
And he said, quote, "I hope I can be there. At worst, I'll be there watching it live, but it will be special." He will turn 39 next June, so his birthday will be during the tournament.
Well, he said,
but he's not officially committed to playing.
He had called the last one that's my last go around or whatever. But you know what? I don't know that he could have predicted how he would feel health-wise, everything else. But clearly, he's trying to tamp down all the fervor, and I understand that. But it would be wonderful if he could be here. Katie, if the United States can't win it, who do you want to see win it?
Oof. Now you're just going to ask me to rank countries, Neil.
No, the team you're rooting for other than Team USA.
Well, I mean, like I said, I want to see France here. I've been to Germany. I love Germany, and they eat, sleep, and breathe soccer there, so wouldn't hate to see that either. So I'm going to say Germany. Yeah.
Germany. What team are you going to root against that you hate the most? It can't be Team USA.
I don't want to answer that question because I don't want to get put on YouTube for that. The fans might come for me.
Gabe, let's see if you're a little more interested.
Well, I've already publicly said I don't want to see Ecuador in Kansas City
because against Ecuador
because they play boring soccer. But they're the 23rd ranked team in the country.
The poor kids of Ecuador know that Gabe is against you.
I grew up living in Canada for 5 years, and so I will say that I don't want to see them win either.
You're rooting against the country of your birth?
It's not where I was born. So I'll say that, and then I think it would be a disaster if England won on American soil, the FIFA World Cup. It would be tough if they got to say, I mean, they've always said the trophy, eventually it's going to come home. If it comes home from the United States, I think that would be a disaster.
Yeah, you know what, Gabe? I will agree with you because when every time the Olympics come around, I do find myself rooting against England specifically because of just, the Tea Party and all that stuff. Back in the days, we're always rooting against England, so I'll go with you on that.
Well, for me, it's easy. I'm not a fan. The United States is so bad at soccer, they don't really have rivals. The only ones they've really got are Canada and Mexico. And Canada, I don't hate them as much. I got to root against Mexico. I admire them, and I admire their fervor because they can attract 100,000 people for a friendly match in Mexico City at their massive stadium, and they do a great job with the F1 race when it comes in. And when the Dallas Cowboys play down there, they always draw 100,000. So I admire them, but I root against them because they're one of the United States' rivals. And if I could see something happen, I think it'd be pretty cool. If the United States can't win, I would not mind seeing France win. I admire them. I don't think they talk as much garbage as some of the others. Spain, yeah, we vacation there, and they hate Americans in Spain, so I can't root for them. Maybe you know what? I come to think of it, they really liked my family. They just hated me. So maybe that was
might have been a Neil problem.
It might. Maybe
Spain
I'm going
met
to
Neil Jones and said, "We don't like Americans."
I might get. So I'm looking at these. I've got to go through this. This is unbelievable.
Neil Jones needs to stop traveling the world. He's giving America a bad name.
These are the. And what's terrible is I'm usually wearing a Chiefs or Royals thing when I go overseas. So that probably
no wonder people hate the Chiefs.
No, I'm polite when I go overseas. I don't try to speak the language because I fracture it. Katie, you can speak German, right?
I took 4 years of German in high school, and I went there. I really can't put together sentences, but I remember vocabulary, the numbers, really basic things like, "How are you? My name is Katie. Ich heiße Katie."
We drove up to training camp, and we're trying to stay awake because it's so early this last summer, and she starts talking German to me, and it scared me.
No, I didn't.
I'm like, what am I doing? I don't know what she said, but I must be doing something wrong. And she laughed and said, no, it's just that's the way the language. I want you to listen. Okay, what is England's official World Cup mascot? And by the way, it's not a Spice Girl. What is it, Gabe?
I think they're like the Blue Lions or something like that.
They're the Red Lions.
The
Blue Lions. Thank you very much.
They wear blue jerseys. So
Germany, what is it, Katie? What is their official World Cup mascot?
I couldn't tell you.
The eagle.
I was going to say it's got to be a bird because of their seal. Yeah.
Spain is the fighting bull. The fighting bull. France is the Gallic rooster. We've all seen. Mm-hmm. We've seen the rooster on their thing. Argentina.
Neil told me when he left yesterday that he was going home and doing research, and this is what he did.
Well, we have to fill 2.5 hours. I thought it was an hour and a half. I walked in, they said it was 2.5. Gabe typed out all this stuff, and it's like they try to play through their midfield, and Ecuador really wants to play back, and they really, you know.
I tried to bring sports analysis. Neil wants to do mascot breakdowns.
When we know who's coming.
The mascots. Keep it going.
Okay, Argentina is a gauchito, which is a, quote, friendly boy. Okay, that'll put the fear of death in you. Brazil is a three-banded armadillo.
Fighting friendly boys.
A three-banded armadillo is the Brazilian, but some of their soccer teams also have the canary as their thing. Colombia has Kinty, which is a fictional agile feline. That's Colombia. Ecuador, a lieb, which is a floating headscarf. It's not even an animal. Their mascot is a floating headscarf. Australia is Tazuni, a quote, a fun football-loving penguin. That's Australia's, a penguin. Japan, a Pokemon character. Yeah, that's really what I want.
What?
I Googled this. Google's never wrong. In
fact,
is it? It's a Pokemon character. Pochikimon.
Does it have a name, though?
Yeah, what is it?
I don't know.
It's their main character. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I'm not an expert on that.
South Korea.
Pikachu?
Yeah. It's that.
Oh.
Does that change it? Do you like that?
Okay, well, I grew up playing Pokemon, so that's fun.
Oh, God. All I have is coffee.
Mascot.
I wish I had something stronger when she's talking about playing up with Pokemon. South Korea has the Spherix, which is a white tiger. I like that. Saudi Arabia, Hadath, a bold and energetic Sand cat. That makes sense for Saudi Arabia. South Africa. Zakumi, a leopard with green hair. Like that. It sounds like a USFL football team. Egypt makes the most sense. A green Nile crocodile. Team USA is a shot of roadkill because that's what we've been in this event. We had one good at one. It was 1930. That was before I was even thought of. I guess my mom was born. I'm not even sure if my mom was born in 1930. That's the only good World Cup we've really had in terms of wins and losses. Scotland is a unicorn. I went to school in Scotland. I don't remember ever seeing anybody wearing a unicorn, but Google said it, so it must be right.
You didn't
There
see
you go.
unicorns in Scotland?
I did not.
Wow.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, regroup, and maybe come back with a little bit more soccer talk.
What? Yeah, I can't wait. Did you play soccer? No. Did I play soccer when I was in grade school? Did Katie? No, Katie was a dancer. At least she was an athlete.
I was a star goalie for 1 year.
There you
and
go.
I was terrified of the ball. I ran away from the ball. I was not a good goalie.
We will take a quick break and come back with some of Katie's soccer expertise. Do we have any of the groups yet?
I'm proud. Have we had any emails wanting to kill Gabe?
Trump's just killing time?
They did like 15 minutes of songs, like Andre Bocelli.
Oh, my.
Kevin Hart came up there. He didn't sing. Yeah.
Did Trump do this? I should have said President Trump. I know. You guys admire him a lot. If you could
All right, welcome back to KCTV5 Plus. It is the final draw day for the World Cup, and we are back. I'm Gabe Swartz, joined by Neil Jones and Katie Marr once again. We've regrouped, we've come back, and
Well, let's talk about first. If you missed the first 30 minutes, you missed that Gabe's rooting against Ecuador because
There you
they're
go.
boring. Katie's rooting for Team USA, but if they can't win it, she wants Germany to win it because she's fluent in German. And I'm rooting for France because I have friends from France, and I think they're a good side, and they don't talk smack if the U.S. can't win, and I don't think the U.S. can win.
there you go. All right, so let's talk about the matches that are in Kansas City and the schedule of what is to come in Kansas City. 4 group stage matches in Kansas City. The first one will be Tuesday, June 16th. That's the 19th match of the tournament and comes on the 6th day of the tournament. That's a Group J group stage match. We were talking about Group J. 2 Group J group stage matches will be in Kansas City, so we have our eyes on that group. Saturday, June 20th will be the second match in Kansas City. That's a Group E group stage match. Thursday, June 25th is match 58 of the tournament, and that is a Group F group stage match. And then Saturday, June 27th is the final group stage match. Kansas City will also host a round of 32 match on Friday, July 3rd. That has a slight chance to be the United States, and I say slight because it would mean that the U.S. would have had to have finished in 3rd place in Group D, and that would have to randomly get assigned to that spot. They would be playing against the Group K winner. And then Saturday, July 11th, the final quarterfinal match of the tournament, match 100 of the tournament, will be in Kansas City. That's the final one in Kansas City. Neil, what are you looking forward to most about the 6 matches in Kansas City?
Well, I just think to see the spectacle. I mean, it would be a little bit like I've not been in a World Cup, but I was in Scotland the first day of the World Cup in 1998. We were at Glasgow Airport getting ready to go play golf. We flew in, and there were thousands of people outside the airport, face painted with the blue and the cross of St. Andrews, all thousands of Scottish fans who were lined up, who were going to be let in, and they were going to board airplanes and fly over for day trips, fly to Paris for Scotland's first match. It was going to be the first match of the 1998 World Cup, and it was like Super Bowl Sunday times 5. And it was all these people. It's their country. Everybody, they hate each other. They root for different teams in Scotland, but they come together. It's like the Olympic basketball team. You might hate LeBron James, but when he's leading Team USA, suddenly he's your buddy and you're rooting for him. So it's like that feeling. Imagine if the NFL playoffs were in another country and you're over there for 4 weeks and the Chiefs are the favorites. Thousands of people would go over there, and they'd be wearing their gear. They'd be excited, and it'd be expensive, but you'd save up and do it. It's only every 4 years, and it's going to be that feeling. I don't care who comes in. The smaller teams will not bring as many fans, but the fans they bring will be unbelievably involved and excited. It is going to be a very special thing to see. And because even if Team USA isn't here, sometimes it's easier to step back and just look at these things as they are, because usually we're covering teams we really like. Except Katie, she doesn't really like the Royals. She's a Yankees fan. But other than that, we're covering teams we're rooting for.
Neil, why are we throwing me under the bus here?
I'm only reporting the truth.
No one said I didn't like the Royals.
I know
just
you
grew
root
up
for the
a Yankees
Royals.
Fan.
And that's terrible. Can you imagine?
Katie, what are you looking
support their
forward to
success.
most about the matches in Kansas City?
Yeah, I'm excited to see how people come in and are just exposed to the Kansas City culture. Like how many people from out and about across the world are going to come here and try Kansas City barbecue for the first time. Are they going to try biscuits and gravy? Like all the things. And I'm always thinking about food, so of course those are the first 2 things that come to mind for me, barbecue and biscuits and gravy. But I'm just excited to see how people take in the culture of KC, because when you think about big cities in the U.S. that people are visiting, typically it's New York and it's Los Angeles, maybe Chicago, maybe D.C. Kansas City isn't one of those top 5 cities that typically comes to mind as a hot spot for tourism, but it's about to be next summer. So I'm just excited for people to see everything that makes KC great, and hopefully Streetcar is up to par for it. That's my big hope.
Let's don't go down that road yet, because there's a lot of things that have to happen. I can't wait to see the response that people have going into Arrowhead. Arrowhead is special. The sight lines are unbelievable. They can't be replicated in the United States because of the laws that have come in to take care of people with disabilities. The ADA laws kind of make it difficult to replicate that. It is an unbelievable stadium with the best sight lines, the closest seats in the upper deck. The fans are going to be shocked when they come in, I believe.
And I think that the world stage of the World Cup, first of all, Neil has forgotten that during the World Cup, it will be called Kansas City Stadium. They will be.
I think it's okay for us to refer to
I
it as
think
Arrowhead
we can
Stadium.
as well, but I'm just when the broadcasts are coming on, they're going to call it Kansas City Stadium, and I think that might throw some people off. I also think that the nature of the how prominent the Chiefs have been in recent years, and how many times they've played in the Super Bowl, how many times they've gone to Brazil, they've gone to Germany, they've played in international events. The Chiefs have their brand with Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, those guys, has made it to the point where I think that there's a decent chance that some soccer fans from around the world will just want to come see what Kansas City's like for that reason alone. Whereas I don't know if people are going to be doing the same for like a Seattle, for example. And Seattle is also one of the spots that's getting a USA match. So that might just be more of an American trip for
Gabe, you
USA
mean to
soccer
tell me
fans.
that someone from France is not going to want to come see Jackson Smith and Jigba's home stadium?
Yeah.
You mean to tell
I don't
me
know if
that?
that's a huge draw.
They're going to want to go over to Bobby Witt Stadium and see what the Royals are like, because they're going to go, what is baseball and what are those out? Why do they have a circle in the middle of it? What the heck's going on? But
Gabe, I was thinking of the same thing, like in terms of how the Chiefs have become this international brand. Like they have so many fans in Germany and now in Brazil and all the other places that they've played. But Germany especially, because I remember a Super Bowl a few years ago in Arizona. I was talking to fans and I met a bunch of German fans, and that was 3 years ago. And they were excited to see Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. So I imagine there are going to be a lot of people that want to come see Kansas City Stadium and walk through, the halls and see all the things on the walls and all the memorabilia, and see more of like the Chiefs side of things, simply because the Chiefs have branded themselves as one of the most popular NFL teams in the world. So I agree with you, Gabe.
yeah, and I bet there'll be a lot of sales of Chiefs gear from people who don't even really root for football, but like if you went overseas, you'd want to buy a jersey from the kit for one of the local players over there, because it'd be neat. It would be something you can bring back. Of course, now you can do it online. I remember going over there and buying stuff because you couldn't get stuff online because they hadn't invented the internet yet. Al Gore didn't get into that until later. So as a result, I mean, I was buying stuff to bring it back to a bunch of soccer fans who were here. One thing that I've noticed is when people, and I bet, Katie, you had this experience because you moved here from the East Coast. You grew up in Jersey, went to school at the University of Maryland. You come to Topeka, Kansas City area. You were probably surprised by what was here. I hope you were surprised. We've had people who have stayed for a couple of months at a time or a month at a time who've come in, the daughters of friends of my wife's who are from Paris, and they were stunned that there was so much to do because Paris is so much bigger than Kansas City, and they look at it and they think, well, there's not much here, and then they're stunned at everything there is to do.
Yeah, no, it's for sure a sneaky city with like a lot of things to do in terms of like, it's like I was saying earlier, where it's not one of those like giant cities in America that you think of automatically as like a tourism site, but there is like so many things to do here. And I think Kansas City kind of like gets a bad rep from like other areas, regions of the country for being like, oh, it's just a boring Midwest city. But no, it's not like that at all. And I always defend Kansas City when my friends from back home are like, what do you do out there? And like, there's so many things to do. And I'm excited for people, like I was saying earlier in the show, to see everything that KC has to offer and eat the barbecue.
And it'll be exciting. I'm hopeful that the women's team, they haven't decided yet, the league is going to take a break, the NWSL. I'm hopeful that the women's team plays a couple of friendlies during that period of time so people can see their stadium and can see their game. I don't know if it's possible. The league's taking a hiatus. They may have a deal with the Players Association that they're not playing, but I think it'd be a lot of fun. I told that to their former general manager, and she said, I don't know. We don't know what we're going to do. We don't know what the players are going to do. But if you add that to the mix, I think it would be very, very exciting. One thing I think it's interesting. I've covered a lot of players over there. There have been 34 World Cuppers on either the Kansas City Wizards or Sporting KC. 34 people played for their respective countries. Not all of them American. Obviously, Matt Beasler from Blue Valley West and Overland Park played in 2014, along with Graham Zusi. They played on Team USA. But Roger Espinoza, who's working as our soccer analyst with Bill Hurlbrink. What Roger did to deserve Bill Hurlbrink, I have no idea. Roger, we're sorry about that. But he played on the Honduran national team and got to take part. I've interviewed Peter Vermes, played on Team USA in the 1990 World Cup. Tony Miola, a three-time World Cupper for Team USA, the goaltender who won a MLS championship, MLS Cup in Kansas City. I've talked to these guys, Jimmy Conrad, and you talk to them, it's in some ways bigger than being on a Super Bowl team because it happens less. It's much more like being on their country's Olympic team. And even if they didn't win, and I don't know that any of those people won a World Cup championship, just taking part was unbelievably special.
Yeah. Neil, there's not a ton that we know about the group stage draw yet. They're still going through the process. We haven't gotten everything yet. What we do know, they are still talking. What we do know is that Group A will have Mexico in it. Group B will have Canada in it. Group D will have the United States in it. Those are the three co-hosting nations. Yep. So I think it's worth talking about what those three teams are doing at this point. Canada. This will be the first time that Canada has ever played in back-to-back World Cups. It is also, they've only played in 2 World Cups ever so far. They have never won a match. They've gone winless in 6 group stage matches. And Mexico, their prominent feature as of late is that they won the 2025 CONCACAF Gold Cup. They beat the United States for that. But since then, they have not won an international match. They also... Neil was talking about expectations for host nations and expectations for the United States, and Neil was being a little bit pessimistic about the United States' outlook for this tournament. One thing that Mexico can say is they've not had a lot of tournament success in the World Cup, but they have had success in home World Cups. They hosted in 1970, they hosted in 1986, and there's only 2 times in the nation's soccer history that they have ever reached the quarterfinals of the World Cup. Both of the times were at home. So with that being said, Neil, do you think that the United States can maybe replicate some of that success? They've not won a knockout match, the United States hasn't, in the World Cup since 2002. Do you think that home field advantage can help the United States next summer?
They changed their coach 2 summers ago, and that had to happen. I saw them play the most lackluster, horrible match out at Children's Mercy Park, Team USA versus the Canadian team. And Team USA, they just fired their coach, had an interim coach. There was no reason to be there. There were like 5,000 or 6,000 fans there in attendance on a Saturday in the fall. So it was a little over a year ago. And Team USA, not only did they not look skilled, they looked like the worst thing you can say about a team. They looked disinterested. Team USA comes into this World Cup ranked number 14th worldwide by FIFA. How they are, I have no idea. Mexico's 15th, Canada's 27th. If you had asked me who the best side was, I'd say Canada. They've actually been pretty successful. They have a coach that's been there for a couple of years. They have a system in place. They know what they're doing. Now, Team USA's played a little better over the last couple of months, but after stinking it up, just having a terrible thing. And every time they lost, it was, wow, boy, they're going to be terrible in the World Cup. Maybe they've got that ship turned around. But the United States has had a bad 2-year run, better recently. I don't trust them. I hope I'm wrong. Their best player has not played his best soccer on the world stage.
Katie, what do you think about the U.S.'s chances?
Yeah,
Before knowing who they're going to play, obviously.
Yeah, there's always a better chance to get a win when you're playing at home. We say that about the Chiefs all the time. We say that about, college football teams. And then, of course, we saw the KC Current go undefeated until their final game in the postseason at home this year. So we know home field advantage in sports is absolutely a thing. I think it's very dependent on how U.S. fans can rally around a team that hasn't had a lot of success on the international stage. Like, will fans start to care enough about them when the time comes? I'm confident that they will, just based on the way that I see people on social media react during times like the Olympics. And I think there's a lot of that growing excitement for this country in terms of international sports because we're hosting the Olympics in 2028. So I think this is kind of like, as we build excitement for that, also like this is also on the path to building excitement for that. So I think it starts next summer in 2026. I think there will be a lot of home team support out in Los Angeles and Seattle where the U.S. will be playing their games. So yeah, I think home field advantage absolutely plays a part, but it comes down to U.S. fans' ability to rally around a team that might not have success or could have success. You never know, because soccer is all about the upsets, and it's a crazy game. You never know what's going to happen. It can literally just come down to one goal.
Gabe, this is a team that has a record in the World Cup, United States, 9 victories, 8 draws, 20 defeats. And you think, well, that goes back a long time. They were better a long time ago. That trip that they had when they went to Brazil in 2014, the team that Graham Zusi and Matt Beasler were on, they were fun to watch. They played well. They had 4 goals in that tournament. They had 5 against, so they were pretty close. They didn't get blown out, like some of the years where they got outscored 8-4 and stuff. But their record in that tournament, and I remember it as being a really good side, was 1 win, 1 draw, and 2 losses. They, even at their best, and they got up against Germany. They got a bad draw in the knockout round against a really good German side. And Beasler told me, Matt Beasler, when he came back, said, you have no idea how scary it is knowing how you're on the back end playing defense against, they got like 6 guys that can score goals. And they're so explosive. It's like playing the Chiefs in 2019 when they had Tyreek Hill and a young Travis Kelce and a running back who could run and an offensive line that could block. And you knew sooner or later Mahomes and company were going to explode. It's been that way. The United States hasn't had the skill to be able to score a lot of goals, so they end up playing kind of a tentative style, trying to stay in matches and steal one. What do you think? Do you think they have any chance of leaving this thing, getting to the knockout round, and winning a match?
I think they do, just off of being at home. I also think it's one of the more talented teams the U.S. has ever had, and I'm just hoping that they're going to be better than 3 goals in 4 matches like they did in 2022. I will say, earlier this morning, I heard Roger Espinosa, our soccer analyst for the World Cup with KCTV5, and you're going to hear more from him later this afternoon. He said, quote, it's the best U.S. team they've ever had. And I trust Roger's evaluation.
Guys, they've said that for 15 years.
So, yeah, I mean, but ultimately, yes, they can have more talent. They have to execute. So we will see whether they do or not. Katie, your parting thoughts on the U.S. before we hit the 12 o'clock news.
And we should point out, we are going to come back. We've got
at 12:30. Yep.
We've got people on the scene. Marlia Campbell is in Washington, D.C. We're going to hear from Marlia. We're going to get you all the stuff when it comes out. We're not just here flapping our gums. We're leading up to something.
Yep.
Right, Gabe?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, my parting thoughts. I'm excited about what Christian Pulisic can do because I can't remember the last time that the U.S. men's team had a star like that people were genuinely excited to watch. So I'm excited to see if he can be a part of that change of the U.S. maybe having a different year this year. So my parting thoughts.
There we go. All right, we will have the 12 o'clock KCTV news at noon. And then we will be back at 12:30 until 2 to react to the full groups release, the final draw. We will talk with Roger Espinosa and Bill Hurlbrink. They're out at Power and Light, and we will have more. So thanks for watching, and come on back at 12:30.
Are we going to get you a red tie so you look like an American? What are you wearing green for? We'll work on that.